We had Matt McChesney, former Colorado offensive lineman, on the show. I think it was the Monday following they joined the Big 12. And here we are. Even 3 new teams have joined since that time, and Colorado wins in Fort Worth. It couldn't have been a better debut for Dion and company. And we're joined by Matt McChesney, former Colorado football player who was pumped up about joining the Big 12 in 2024. Could they have written a better script for Dion's opening game at Colorado?
Oh man, I mean, look, that was incredible. It was one of the being a lifelong Buff fan, playing there, and then just being around the program for as long as I have now with my profession and the gym and everything else. I've never seen a debut like that from a head coach, from a team, just a brand new group of kids, and then I mean just Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, Edwards. I mean, it was unbelievable, just from top to bottom. If that didn't put the entire new Big 12 on notice, I don't know what will. So it's super exciting, and I couldn't be more pumped for the guys up in the room and for Coach Prime. I mean, that's the way to start an era. And I love that he said he was keeping receipts, because he is. And this is what we're used to in Boulder. We're used to competitive, hard-nosed football teams, and it's been a long time since we've had it. And it's really great to have it back, man. I couldn't be more excited.
Matt, what was it like? Just I would imagine the texts, the convos, the message boards, or however you interacted with fellow Colorado folks. What was that like? And when's the last time you can recall having as happy of a weekend as the one that the Buffaloes just had?
I mean, I don't know if even when we were playing, like back in the day in the early 2000s, I don't know if we've had a Saturday like that, for the simple fact that, so I watched this game with 2 of my ex-teammates, Sam Wilder and Sean Tufts. And I played defense at CU, and then I played defense in the NFL and offense in the NFL, and got moved around. And, it's football's awesome, but I don't even know if when I played I was as excited as I was Saturday, for the simple fact that I grew up, in Boulder County. And we, even through the 90s, and I think we had like one bad year the entire time I was growing up. And then when I got there, we were consistently in bowl games and in the Big 12 title game, and always competitive. And then, I'm going to say this again, and this year will be the year they break this streak, but I was a senior captain on the last team that won a bowl game in Boulder in 2004. So it's been a long time since we've been hyper competitive, and in 2016 they had a good run, but it didn't feel like this. On Saturday, it almost felt like they were unveiling a new football team, and it was incredible. The gold numbers, that really was a very clean look for the Buffs, and something that's unique to Coach Prime. It wasn't just excitement. It was almost like relief that this is going to work. And not only is it going to work, but I think it's going to be, I wouldn't put it past the Buffs to be an 8-9, even a 10-1 team this year.
So when he was hired, Matt, what were your first impressions? And along with former teammates, he brought amazing excitement, electricity, attention, or whatever. But were you convinced with him?
Oh, absolutely. And look, I was on I don't know if it was that panel or anything, but there were about 8 to 10 ex-players that were consistently talking with Rick George and the administration up there. Joel Klatt was kind of the head of that. Jeremy Bloom, myself, Dan Graham, and Andre Gerard, and guys like that. Mm-hmm. Just dudes that have played in the past that care. And we distinctly said, please don't go, for comfort. Don't go for conservative. Don't go hire, like, no offense to coach, but Bronco Mendenhall. Don't go that route. Don't go with somebody that, is safe, quote unquote. Go for greatness, please. And Rick George went for greatness, and he hired Deion Sanders. And prime time, when the rumbling started, I think I knew maybe 3 or 4 days before they hired him, and it was almost impossible to keep a secret. It was so exciting. So, the country looked at it like it's a gimmick, and we in Buffalo Nation here looked at it like, that this is what is needed. The dedication to the social media game and how it relates to the younger generation, and something that I do every day at 6-0 and 6-0 equipment. The way that we interact with social media and the younger generations needed, and they know that. And then just what Coach Prime, his staff, and his message and everything he's about, what it brings to the next generation of player. They're not just developing kids to go play. I mean, everybody in that place up there is part of his family, man. And I know it was cutthroat at the beginning, but usually things are. And it was needed in order to get to where they're at now. And, 1-0, beating a ranked team on the road that just played for the Natty, regardless of, the defense and what happened, they stepped up, made a lot of plays when they had to, a lot to fix, but you definitely want to fix it off of a 45-42 win where you're setting records rather than put it like this. When they were up 24-14 and then they were down 27-24, past Colorado teams would have lost 45-14 and, 45-24, something like that. And now, they immediately come back to score and it turns into a fight and they end up winning the game. So the competitive nature and the culture that's in Boulder, nobody thought that he could do it as fast as he did. And I think he's done it faster than anticipated.
Matt, so much was made about the number of transfers and the roster turnover, but shoot, we just covered a game on Saturday night where Texas State rolled in. They had 70-something new players on the roster, so Deion wasn't alone. He's just got the bigger spotlight, obviously, but it's just such a different world in college football now, isn't it? And I guess that, the whole new players, and there's so many guys, and how could it possibly work? But that's the era we're in now, and Deion seems better cut out for it than anybody. And now you've got some proof in the pudding of, hey, well, at least for 1 week it worked, and it worked, super effectively.
Yeah, I don't know if it can work like that everywhere, but
Sure.
Like you said, they did it too. So I guess if you're an equal opportunity coach and you're willing to come in and just, raid the pantry and restock, it could be beneficial, but I still think that there's something to the old school way of building a team. But at the same time, what's unique with Deion is he didn't just reload, with brand new kids. He brought so many guys and coaches with him that were already established in his community and culture. So that's why I didn't really buy into he's not going to be able to build anything in Boulder that fast. He already built it in Jackson and brought it to Boulder. So it's like when everybody last week was talking about how the Colorado kids are going to struggle in the Fort Worth heat. Well, they're not Colorado kids. They're from Florida and Texas and whatnot. So, Georgia. So they again came from the hottest place on earth, Jackson, Mississippi. It's not going to worry about Fort Worth heat. I mean, it's almost like people don't understand what they're looking at. Like it's like Tom Lugendale, I think that's his name, the ESPN guy who came out and said they had the worst roster in football. I mean, Tom, bro, what do you do for a living other than just read other people's stuff? That's the worst take I've ever heard in my life. The worst roster in college football. They just had the Walter Camp Player of the Week. A freshman scored 4 touchdowns, and Travis Hunter is a literal superhero that played 144 snaps in one game. If that's the worst roster in football, then I don't know anything about football.
So the build-up, the excitement, the build-up, and now they get that first opening win. Nebraska, I know you hate the Huskers. Great rivalry. They had a tough loss to Minnesota. They've forgotten how to win themselves. And a different type style of team. How I can't even imagine, even if Colorado had lost that game, the build-up this week to Deion's opening game at Folsom Field in Colorado in Boulder?
It is. It's unlike. Look, man, this game is always super intense. It's Nebraska week, so it's always going to be through the roof from a perspective of hype. But I mean, I think this one is going to be the biggest one maybe ever, and that includes the 62-36 game, for the simple fact that the national media has gravitated towards Boulder and Coach Prime the way they have, and they should. The win last week against a ranked opponent to set the table, Nebraska losing the way they did, I mean, being up the whole game and losing the way they did motivates them to go ruin the party. And look, I wish that they played this game every year. The people in Nebraska definitely want to do it. The people in Colorado definitely want to do it, but it's just the nature of college football. You may not get it every year. So when you do get it, and we get them again next year in Lincoln, it's special. And for many years, this game and Kansas State getting thrown in there determined the fate of the North Division. And there's legit disdain and hatred between the two programs. And it goes back for years and years and years and years. So there's nothing more than we want in Boulder than to absolutely eviscerate these people every time we play them. We respect them, but we absolutely hate them. And, Saturday is an opportunity. I work with Savion Washington, the big right tackle for the Buffs, who was awesome on Saturday, just clearing the road, especially on that goal line play. They ran an unbelievably good deuce block and climbed, and the fullback, who's a defensive lineman, just murked the middle linebacker. I was talking to him about this, and he's from Kent State. A lot of these guys are coming in like, they're being informed and educated on the history of the Colorado-Nebraska rivalry. And to be able to be an old head and be able to tell the new guys about what this is, that's our role now in this rivalry, is being able to help Coach Prime and help Shador and Travis and Edwards and all these other cats, Savion and whatnot, understand what kind of fist fight they're going to get into on Saturday. So it's going to be ruthless. It's going to be mean. It's going to be fast and physical. But I know this: this is not, this ain't Tommy Frazier walking out of the tunnel here in Lincoln. So if you hit these people in the mouth consistently, they will fold. They're the Nebraska Cornhuskers, but they are not the Nebraska Cornhuskers of old. And since 2000, we're 7-7 against these folks, and it's something that I know it seems maybe juvenile to the rest of the world to focus on one team to try and beat that much, but it's what it is. So they are now focused on us the way we used to be supremely focused on them, and that's the way this rivalry needs to be. And I can't wait for Saturday and to get out there on the field and just feel that emotion and that tension, and then have all those Husker fans come into Boulder and have to drive back I-80 back to Lincoln with an L. I mean, you're going to have to go all the way back through your god-awful state with an L and then go have to play the Big Ten. So that's going to be terrible.
Matt, that's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun to see that atmosphere and all that. And obviously, how could it keep getting better? Well, hey, go beat Nebraska and be 2-0. But
amen.
Yeah, when we last, I guess, was the Big 12 news already official or not?
No, not the new one.
Okay,
he was
I didn't think
the Monday after Colorado joined the conference, and then since that time, Matt, they've added 3 more.
Yeah, I mean, just what are your thoughts in general? I mean, when people start to have the conversation about who could be the teams of the new Big 12 and all, I mean, obviously Colorado and Deion are right there in that conversation, but just in general, what has kind of been the reaction and your thoughts and others as far as Colorado coming back to the Big 12 and a bunch of new teams coming along from the pack as well?
I mean, obviously, I'm super excited about them going home. I despise the Pac-12 when we moved there, and I'm really glad they're moving back. I think they have a real chance to be a big-time player in this conference, to say the least. That said, the addition of the Arizona schools in Utah is also extremely significant, especially Utah. I was there for their opener on Thursday night when they played Florida. My son, Nicholas, was on his first recruiting trip. Utah brought him out.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it was pretty awesome. And I'd never been to Rice Eccles before, and it was pretty cool, man. They put on a show and absolutely beat the hell out of Florida. And I think that they're going to be, look, they're just always going to be there. They do things right. They play great defense. They play good special teams. The way they play travels, they're really physical. They're going to be a successful program in the Big 12 and a program that they definitely got to reckon with. I love the league. I think it's, kind of coast to coast, and it's deep, and it's got a lot of new blood in it, and a lot of teams are going to play each other for the first time, but a lot of chances for new rivalries and, new tension, which is always good in college football. And I'm very eager to see what they do with their last 4 spots. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with the ACC, with them going to get Stanford and Cal and SMU and now at 18 teams. I don't know what's, if that's going to crumble and they're going to be able to pluck 4 from there. But I have a feeling everybody's going to be at 20 eventually. Let me ask you guys something. Would you be against Washington State and Oregon State joining the conference? Do they bring anything to the table for the Big 12, in your opinion?
Well, football-wise, they're both pretty good. And Washington State, statistically, data-wise, has always had a nice little showing when it comes to the numbers on television. It's unfortunate because someone's going to have to be left out. Had they been a part of the conference, it would not have affected me at all either way. It's unfortunate, but just the timing of all of this.
Yeah, I'd say for me, I'd love to have them. I think they'd fit in great. I think they'd be perfect fits, as a matter of fact. But unfortunately, you know how this is. This is as much a business at this point as anything. And because they don't bring a certain amount of, TV or whatever, general population or whatever factors, I think that works against them. But I think they would be great fits, Matt. I do.
Yeah, and look, it's too bad for those 2 programs. If they don't get in, we don't know what will happen. They've still got a year to figure it out. But right now, it's looking like they're going to the Mountain West. And Washington State just walked into Fort Collins and absolutely crushed CSU. So if Washington State and Oregon State go to the Mountain West, they're going to win the Mountain West for 10 years in a row. They'll just rotate. So, yeah, I don't know if the Mountain West necessarily wants that either. But look, the new Big 12 has a real chance to be, I don't think they'll ever be at the same level of the SEC and the Big 10 just from a dollars perspective.
Sure.
But from a team perspective and like having quality programs, man, looking at that conference, like in a 16-team league, you can have upwards of like half the teams ranked at one point or another with how good these programs are. So the sky's the limit for the new Big 12, man. I think it's really going to be an awesome conference and an awesome league, and I can't wait to be a part of it.
Hey, there's a couple of guys on the chat room, Matt, that a lot of people love your segment with us, and they remember the one you had on before. But you know what? There's a couple of guys that are kind of popping off. They want to arm wrestle you. You want to take on? I'll give you their address.
Yeah, well, only if we Indian leg wrestle. Like we have to lay hip to hip and then get the legs up and lock them, and then we'll Indian leg wrestle and see if that works.
Yeah. Hey, and always appreciate your passion. What a start for Dion, Colorado. We'll see what happens against Nebraska, which is a huge rivalry. And thanks for your time, and have a great week. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you, gentlemen. Have a great rest of your show. You guys do a great job, and it is Nebraska week, baby, so let's go Buffaloes.
Matt McChesney with us on 365 Sports. I told Garrett Gard, his former defensive end at Colorado, who also had time